What up, peeps? Welcome to today's vlog. This one is going to be a little bit different. We honestly had nothing planned for today at all. We pretty much just hung out, watched. We're watching this TV show. I think it's called Hannibal, but it's about Hannibal Lecter. Very good, by the way. But that's pretty much all we did. We actually ran to the store to ship one eBay item, and I mean, that's really all we've done. So we don't really have anything planned for today. So instead of doing like a regular vlog and not really having much, I figured that I would just do like a sort of discussion video instead, because this is something that has obviously been going on for a little bit now, and it was very unexpected and very crazy to me. And obviously, as you can see by the title, the video game prices that we're seeing during the coronavirus pandemic has been insane. And it's both been a good and a bad thing, at least for us, you know, having the store and everything. A lot of stuff, I guess I'll just explain what's been happening for anyone who maybe has not been paying attention. Prices on video games have gone up dramatically ever since, you know, stay-at-home orders were issued and businesses have been closed and stuff like that. So when it was first happening, I was under the impression, and I had the feeling and the thoughts that prices would go down. And because prices had been going up for quite some time, at least on, you know, certain things, especially like Nintendo 64 and Gamecube stuff, prices were getting really, really high, and they were already, especially for Gamecube, they were already at their peak before coronavirus stuff started happening. And so it was my thoughts that, you know, a lot of people are going to be out of work, a lot of people are going to be staying home, they're not going to be making as much money, and because of that, I thought that the demand for games would go down, and as a result of that, prices would go down. And what we've seen is the complete opposite, which to me is crazy. And it is true that a lot of people are out of work and a lot of people are staying home and they don't have money to spend on stuff. But I think what has happened is that you have a lot of people who don't normally buy video games, who have all this extra time, and they also got a stimulus check. And I think what has happened is these people who don't normally buy video games are now looking to buy video games because they are being forced to stay home. And what are you going to do when you're home all the time? Playing video games is a great option. So I think that is what has happened. And so the demand for video games has gone up, but the supply has remained the same. And it's not just retro stuff. It's happening with Nintendo Switch consoles as well. You guys have probably seen, if you look on like your local Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, everywhere is sold out of Switch consoles, and even your standard regular Switch can sell for $400 to $500, which is crazy. They're $300 brand new, if you can find them new, that is. But yeah, it's just insane. And so I wanted to go through, I've got my computer here with price charts pulled up, and I wanted to go through a few games just as examples to kind of discuss what has been happening with these prices and like which games it's affecting. Because it's not every single game, but it is a lot of the really popular ones, but it's also a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't expect. So I wanted to talk about that. I also wanted to talk about what I think might happen once everything starts getting back to normal, and you know, what prices are going to look like going forward, and you know, just what's going to happen. So I feel that it would make sense that if prices are going to go up during something like this, it's going to be on the really, really popular games, because those are the ones that, if you have more buyers entering the market, those are, you know, usually the ones they're going to be looking for. So Pokemon games, Mario games, Zelda games, stuff like that, that is really, really popular, that is the kind of stuff that you would think would go up in price. And for the most part, that is true. But I feel like there have been a couple games that really haven't gone up in price, that kind of fall into that category. So the first one is a kind of a double, but it's Pokemon Gold and Silver for Game Boy Color. Out of all the Pokemon games for the Game Boy systems, Gold and Silver are always the ones that we have multiple copies of in stock. They typically don't really sell out for us, and we have had them priced at the same price for quite some time. And of course we put new batteries in them and stuff like that, but when we closed at our store, we were still, we still had people contacting us, and for a while we were doing curbside pickup, and then we launched our website, and so we're making sales through that. And even I think even like a couple weeks after the website launched, we still had copies of Gold and Silver in stock. Whereas like Pokemon Yellow, Red and Blue, any of the Game Boy Advance ones, they always sell immediately. And so if I look up Pokemon Gold, right now the loose price on price charts is $21.88. And you have to understand that the average here that it's getting that almost $22 from, it's taking into account all the ones that sell on eBay, whether they save or not. So typically ones with new batteries will go for a bit more. But, we were selling them for $24.99. We are sold out now. We were sold out. We have new ones that we have put up. But we've been selling them for $25 for such a long time, and we always had copies. So I'm not saying that the price hasn't gone up at all, because if price chart says 22 right now, if I look, let me see if I'll change it to show just the past 1 year. So right now it's at about $22 for a loose copy of Pokemon Gold. But if you go back to September, October of 2019, it was about $18 in September, and it says $16 in October. So the price was definitely a little bit lower. But then if you look at a game like Pokemon Fire Red, for example, and I do the same thing, the price right now is just at $40. But if you go back to October of 2019, it's at $27.97. So that one in the same time frame has gone up way, way more. But let's look at another example. Let's look at Mario Party 4 for the GameCube. Complete right now on price chart says $73.72. And if we go back to October, it was $32.27. November, when it's coming to Christmas time, prices tend to go up. It was $38. December, $41. January, $41. February, it starts to go up when this whole thing started, $45. Then you get to March, and it's $55. April, $63. May, $71. And then right now, we're at almost $74. And most of these price increases like this you see with GameCube stuff. So let's look at Luigi's Mansion real quick. And the prices don't, like I said, they don't really seem to be, what's the word? Like they're not predictable, I guess you could say. Because right now we are looking at Luigi's Mansion, which for us in store is always extremely popular. Even before the pandemic, whenever we get this game in, it would sell right away. If you go back to October, it's at $40. Right now, it's at $50. It really didn't go up that much. But for such a popular Mario title, you would think that it would have gone up quite a bit more, because if you look at Super Mario Sunshine, which obviously is always a really popular game as well, if you go back to October, it's at $41, but right now it's at almost $70. So that one has gone up quite a bit. But these are the types of games that I would expect to go up when more buyers enter the market. These are the games that everyone wants for the console. They want the Mario games, they want the Pokemon games, they want the Zelda games, they want the Metroid and all that kind of stuff. But it hasn't only affected these types of games. And this is where I think things are definitely going to change when things open back up. Because now I'm going to search for... Let's search for Vandal Hearts for PS1. You know, it's an RPG, but it's not like a crazy popular game. So if you go back to October, a complete copy was $27. Right now it's at $45. And that is really, really weird because it is an RPG, and typically RPGs are always really sought after, especially PS1, but it's not really, really popular. You don't hear people, you know, dying to get Vandal Hearts for PS1. You hear people, you know, wanting Final Fantasy VII and stuff like that, but not Vandal Hearts. And it's really weird to me that the prices on games like this have gone up so drastically, because I don't really think that the demand for Vandal Hearts is any higher than it was before. And I honestly think what's happening is people who are selling games are noticing that there is a trend where things are increasing in price, and instead of pricing the games what they're selling for, they're pricing them a little bit higher just because. And then people who are looking for the game, they don't know any better or they don't really care, but they're just buying whatever's available. And then when other sellers come in and they see that Vandal Hearts, for example, you know, this $30 game is selling for $50, they start pricing it at $50 as well, because why not? It's selling for $50. And like I said, it's not just the popular games, it's these really weird ones like this. Try to think of another one that's just like uncommon. Let's see if my computer would load. But basically, I've noticed that this has been happening with all sorts of stuff, and it's not happening with the cheap games, which is kind of weird, because you would think that if random uncommon RPGs for the PS1 are going up, which are not popular, you would also maybe think that some of the cheaper games are going up as well, because Vandal Hearts is not really a popular game. So if that's going up, why isn't this Shrek game going up in price? Or why aren't the Need for Speed games going up in price? To me, it seems weird that it's happening like that. But I think, like I said, the reason is just the sellers are putting higher prices on their stuff. So I'm going to look at this other one here. I don't know if this one's going to kind of follow the same thing. Okay, yeah. So another example, Bloody Roar 4 for PS2. Not a common game at all, but also not a very popular, not a very sought after game. It is kind of expensive, and it is, uncommon, but it's not one that people are always dying to find. In October of 2019, Complete was $35. Right now, it is sitting at $57. So it has almost doubled in price, which is crazy, because who's looking for this game now that was not looking for it in October? You know what I mean? It's just really, really weird to see these price trends like this on games that are not popular. So it's extremely weird, and I wanted to kind of talk about it not only from a buyer's perspective, but as a seller as well, because we have the store, of course. And the reason at the beginning of this video that I said it's been a good and a bad thing is because, or for us personally, is because we had a lot of stuff sitting around that we got before the pandemic started, and we have not sold it. So the stuff that's been sitting there has increased in value dramatically. So the prices that we paid for it ended up being really, really good, which for a business, that's a good thing, of course. Like, you know, we had a bunch of copies of Wii Sports that were sitting around, and, you know, before the pandemic, I mean, we would only pay a few dollars, maybe $5 for a copy of Wii Sports because we sold them for $12.99. But when this whole thing started, that game shot up in price and everybody wanted it, and we sold out. We sold, I think, like 70 copies of Wii Sports for $20 to $25 a piece. And that was through eBay, but I mean, even at that price, we had resellers buying them to go sell them on Amazon, most likely. But, you know, like, we had one person spend $1,300 on Wii Sports. One person bought that amount from us at once, which is crazy. And so in that way, it's been a good thing for us because we've been able to make, you know, more money than we were initially expecting. Where it's bad for us, though, is now it's more difficult and way more expensive to restock inventory, especially when we're still closed. We're not getting our daily trade-ins that we might get, and I don't even know how that has changed since this whole thing has started. I guess we'll figure it out once we reopen, but it's been difficult, especially with us launching the website, which, you know, the website has been very, very successful, and that's all thanks to you guys, so obviously shout out to you. But we went from having a very, very good selection of Nintendo 64 games, like, in the store at all times, to, I mean, we have sold over half of our entire N64, you know, library that we had in stock. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, making sales is great, but the problem with prices being so high now is that it's become really difficult to replenish that stock. And, you know, we do a lot of extra work to get inventory in many, many ways that a lot of stores don't do. So I think that has helped us quite a bit, but it still isn't easy. And, you know, I can no longer just look at newly listed eBay stuff and find, you know, Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda games that are a little bit underpriced where we can still make some money but have them in stock. That's not really happening right now. And, like, you know, I'm sure you guys have noticed in the vlogs, we are getting a lot of packages. I'm buying a lot of stuff from other game stores' websites and stuff like that, but we are not really getting a lot of eBay scores. And we typically do. And, you know, I have a few friends that will send me listings all the time, and, you know, we get a lot of good stuff that way. And a lot of times we will find Majora's Mask or Super Mario 64 or Smash Brothers and games like that where, you know, because we are a retail store, we do have a little bit of a markup on them. So when a really good deal pops up on eBay, it's worth it for us to buy it and make some money. But now those deals are either not getting posted at all, or there's way too many people looking right now. So the chances of actually finding one are way slimmer than they used to be. And that's not me complaining about this, of course. I'm just explaining what's happening. We are still doing our best to replenish everything we can, and I'm still having a lot of fun doing that, of course. I'm just explaining that it's not as easy as it was before the pandemic. And so that's kind of like, you know, where everything is right now. But one last thing that I wanted to talk about is what I think is going to happen moving forward. Because, like, if I'm being completely honest, these prices are not sustainable. You know, these games that only 6 months ago were selling for half of what they are now, they will not stay where they are, in my opinion. And I could be wrong, of course. I can't tell the future. This is just my opinion on what I think is going to happen. What I think will happen is once everything starts opening back up again and people start going back to work, getting more money coming in, I think initially, when everything opens back up, prices might go up even a little bit more. But I think, give it a couple months, prices will come back down. And I don't think that prices will come back down on everything. I think on the really popular but common stuff like Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon games, I think those will slowly start to come back down. But on the rare games, on the games that are actually hard to find that have gone up in price, and let's just use Kuon for PS2 as an example, because this is one that the price is crazy. I think that this one will probably hold its price because there isn't a bigger market right now for Kuon than there was 6 months ago. So 6 months from now, it's still going to be the same. And there's no reason for a seller to just start lowering the prices when there's no reason to, basically. There is a reason to lower prices on Mario and Zelda games because they're so common, and once a lot of people start going back to work and everything, they're going to be like, well, I don't need these games anymore. You know, the casual people who bought these games just to play because they were stuck at home, who now do not really care about them anymore, they're going to start selling them. So you're going to have an influx of sellers coming in with all this stuff, and that will bring the price down. But with the rare games, you're not going to get an influx of sellers when everything comes back to normal. It's going to be the same supply and the same demand. So there's no reason for these sellers to lower their prices because this is the new price for them. And I'm not saying that it's going to stay that way forever. Stuff can always fluctuate. Stuff will always go up and down. But for the rare games like Kuon, I don't think it's going to go back to being a $300 or a $250 game. Because if you go back to October, it was $292 complete. Right now, Price Charts is at about $500, but, I mean, they've been selling for even more than that. There's multiple sold listings at $600, which is crazy, because I bought that game for myself maybe a year ago, and I paid full retail at that time, which was $300. And, you know, now it going for up to double that amount is crazy, and I don't think that the price is going to drop back down on stuff like that, at least not very quickly. I suppose over time, if the demand for that game, you know, is not willing to pay those high prices, the prices may start to come back down a little bit, but the supply and the demand on those rare games is not going to change just because coronavirus ends and things go back to normal. It's not going to be like that, at least in my opinion. But like I said, I do think the popular stuff will come back down. And I think that probably on some of the mid-tier stuff, you know, like your $30, $40, $50 games, I think that some of that stuff might come back down. But especially for anyone who bought one of these rare games during the pandemic, if they paid one of those really high prices, they're not, you know, if they decide to sell it afterwards, they're not going to want to take a huge loss. So they're going to post it for at least what they paid, if not more. And so I really don't think that those rare games are going to come down in price. And like I said, right when everything gets back to normal, you might see prices go up a little bit because you're going to have people getting another paycheck or, you know, whatever it is, and they're going to have money coming back in. And you're going to see the prices, you know, it's going up like this, and then this is where stuff gets back to normal, then it's going to do that, and then it's probably going to start going back down. So at the peak of that, once people start getting that money back in, you might have a few more buyers in the market at that time before it starts to drop off. But like I said, this is all just my opinion, my views on it, and just, you know, what I think could potentially happen just based on what I've seen and based on my experience at buying and selling. And yeah, if you guys have any other thoughts on this, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'd like to have some cool discussions about this. You know, and don't only comment to me. Like, if you see other people commenting, feel free to reply to them and talk about this stuff and, you know, see what other people think, because it's very, very weird what's going on. It's not a normal, you know, everyday thing that's going to happen. Obviously, this is a, you know, these are weird times, and a lot of stuff is unexpected. Things just kind of happen, and you know, it's different and it's weird, and it's hard to predict. You know, like I said before, I thought that prices would go down because people wouldn't have money to spend, but the exact opposite of that has happened, and I just think it's been super interesting, a little bit worrying, and a little bit exciting, I guess, at the same time. I don't know. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, and let's get some discussion going. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow.